Sing, sing a song. Do you remember this? Sing out loud. Sing out strong. Sing of good things, not bad. Sing of happy, don't sing of sad. Sing a song. Make it simple to last your whole life long. Don't worry that it's not good enough for anyone else to hear. Just sing a song. I'd like to teach the world to sing in perfect harmony. And then I'd like to hold it in my hand and keep it company. I'd like to teach the world, see it all standing hand to hand. You can hear those echoes singing of peace throughout the land. It's the song we sing. That song's still current today. It's what we hope the world's gonna say. I'd like to sing that song and sing and sing and sing and sing. La 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 la. You sing that with me, Kay. La 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 la. One more time. La 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 la. Sing, sing a song. Sing out loud, sing out strong. Sing of love there could be. Sing for you and sing for me. Oh, what the heck? One more time. La 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 la. One la 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 la. Don't worry that it's not good enough for anyone else to hear. Just sing. Just sing. Just sing a song. What do you think?
Let's just take a deep breath and settle in and let's pray. As I know, there is only one light, one life, one love, one spirit that is all, that permeates everything. It is that spirit, that love that I see in the eyes of every person I meet. I feel the divine emanating from their souls, just as I feel it emanating from mine. And in this oneness, we gather to celebrate the knowing of that oneness. And whether we're all here in this room together, we're online together, we're on a mountaintop alone, we are on holy ground. Because wherever we stand is holy ground. Every breath we breathe in the divinity of God. We breathe in the divinity that fills us. And as we let go of that breath, we let go of all that does not serve us, all that is not right here, right now. As we immerse ourselves in the now. And I just give thanks for everyone who had anything to do with bringing this service together. I'm thankful to see all the faces. And I'm thankful for all those who listen later. All those who allow and who are open to the message that will come through Reverend Jen from Spirit today. And with a grateful heart, and a faith of God, of Spirit, I just release this, knowing that every thought is an act of creation, and we choose consciously to create heaven on earth right here, right now. And so it is. Well, if it hadn't locked itself, I would have my words of inspiration. There they are. My first words of inspiration are from Georgia Cates, from Beauty from Pain. Music is what feelings sound like out loud. That's the rest of that quote, out loud. Isn't that what we're doing this year, is living out loud? This one's a little bit longer, but I promise the Ernest Holmes one will be short. Which I know is saying something. Paul Hayward, Your Inner Song. Be thankful for each morning sunrise. See beauty in nature's reveal. That beauty is also inside you. Open up and see how you feel. Let kindness be part of your being. Make someone else smile every day. Even if darkness surrounds them, your compassion will light up their way. Show grace and humility always. Be patient and loyal and true. Don't try to be all to the many, but always be you to the few. Stand firm at times of challenge. Maintain your wisdom and poise. Be attuned to nature's rhythm amid life's trials and noise. Be proud of the love you are giving. Spread it equal with strangers and kin. Your resolve will sometimes be tested, but your strength will come from within. Don't dwell on mistakes or regrets now, or dread what tomorrow might bring. Let this moment be all that consumes you, and may the world hear your inner voice sing. and from our founder, Dr. Ernest Holmes. I'm glad everybody's sitting down. Listen to your inner voice. It will tell you the truth.
So, as many of you know and remember, we are talking about living out loud this year. How exciting is that to bring our authentic nature to this world and just be here and be present and be seen and be heard. And this month we are looking at some of the basic concepts and principles that support us in who we are in that idea of root and reboot. So it's that looking at our roots of who we are and how we came to be here, and then rebooting as we need to and refreshing all that we are and all that we are doing. And today our talk title is The Internal Song. How beautiful is that? So we have a desire to live in harmony. We don't always know how to go about that, but that's something that we seek. And we are taught that we are one of the one, and that's one small o and of the one capital O. We're all connected, and all of life is connected. So what a beautiful idea that is to realize and recognize that, and then yet we know that the world keeps showing up. And sometimes it's outside our door, and sometimes it enters, and that creates some challenges. So last week I spoke just briefly about the life of a man named Job, who was talked about in the Hebrew scripture, and how Job's ego just had a tendency to get in the way of Job seeing, doing, being, having all that he wanted. And so I'm going to look at this a little bit more today, because the internal dialogue of the ego can appear to drown out the internal universal song. It can block that beautiful voice. Because when we are run by ego, we fail to listen. Sometimes we completely refuse to listen. We choose not to consider another's idea or another's insight. We have the mindset that we might have all the answers, and nobody else does. In the book, The Enlightened Ego, by Kelly Benenga, this book is amazing, and it starts out with a story that took place during the waning years of the Ice Age. And I'm going to share just an abbreviated version of this story with you. You see, there's a group of individuals who are getting ready to face the harsh winters. And the tribal chief realizes that they don't have what they need to sustain them throughout the winter months. And they've been observing another tribe not too far away that's been doing a lot of fishing and a lot of drawing out of that fish. And so the tribal chief decides that it might not be a bad idea for his people to sneak into the area of the other tribe and steal what they need for the winter months. Now, the chief in this particular story had a son named Seth, and Seth was just a teenager, but this was going to be his first raid. It was going to be his first opportunity to go with the men of the tribe and demonstrate his maturity. And so Seth was so excited and had that wonderful, that energy of anticipation within him, and yet there was a part of him that felt scared and frightened. So he was kind of, trying to manage these emotions and figure out what this all meant to him. And so what happened was nighttime fell, and a group of the people snuck into the area where the others had stored their preserves for the winter. And they began to fill their leather sacks with all they could carry. And when they had done that, they were so proud of themselves, and they began to leave the area when dogs began barking and woke up the other tribe. And now a battle ensued. And Seth was confronted by another teenager from the other tribe who looked like he was about his age. And he was scared because this kid was coming at him with weapons and everything he had to try to stop him from taking the livelihood of their tribe. But something kicked into gear within this young man, Seth, and all of those wonderful lessons and exercises he had in how to fight and how to preserve his own life kicked in, and he took the life of the other young man. When that happened, he was shocked. He was horrified at what he had done. And as he looked into the eyes of this young boy as he died, he realized that he had done something horrific. And he wasn't quite sure where to put that emotion. But there wasn't time to process because they had to get out of there. And so they fought the battle that they fought, and they went back to the place where they were all camped. And when they got there, a lot of the other tribesmen began to congratulate Seth for his amazing skill in battle. He had accomplished something wonderful. And now Seth was torn again because he had this sense of sorrow for what had transpired and that it was his fault that this other young man was now dead, but yet there was this praise going on, and he wanted to feel happy and he wanted to feel accomplished, and he just couldn't quite figure out which emotion to land on. The author of this book talks about how we have those contradictory emotions that show up with us. We have those moments in time when we can't quite decide where we really are in this moment. And we can relate to this today because there's just so much going on around us. You see, sometimes we're conflicted because we see something out there for a charitable group that needs money, and we want to give money to the charity. But there's a part of us within that's saying, no, don't do that. You need this money. You need this money for groceries. You need this money for rent. You need this money for all these other things. And so there's that kind of argument going on within us of what can we do and what's the best action to take. Sometimes we become anxious or upset when we are choosing to seek out a job or a promotion and we find out that someone else is also in competition. And then we want that person to succeed, but we also want ourselves to succeed, and then we get into that internal kind of dialogue and battle about how to feel about that situation. Oftentimes we feel compassion for those amazing people we know as refugees who are fleeing prosecution and now suffering on our borders. And yet, there's that little voice within us that says, but this is our country. And if they come here, they may take our jobs and they may take our well-being. And so that inner turmoil and that contradictory kind of argument that's going on within us flows over into our relationships. It flows over into many of our priorities. And some of this inner conflict plays out subconsciously and gives us that sense of unease and confusion. And I don't know about you, but in the past few months I've felt a lot of this. I can attribute it to grief. I can attribute it to a lot of the challenging things that have been happening in the world around us. I can attribute it to some of the things that I have had an opportunity to deal with that I wouldn't share details with you at all. It could be any number of things, but there's moments when it just feels kind of ucky. It's like, and then someone walks up to you and says, "How are you doing? How are you feeling? How's it going?" And you don't want to throw up on them and tell them all these horrible things you're feeling. However, there's that struggle. And so what this is about is we struggle to defend our own self-image. We desire to connect with something greater than ourselves at the same time. Psychologists and religious leaders often point to the ego as the culprit in our fearful and selfish tendencies. Because you see, our ego serves a purpose in the survival and continued evolution of humankind. Sometimes we think that the best thing we can do is ignore the ego or kill it, hide it away, and that's not the answer. We cannot disregard it. We cannot destroy it. It serves a very important part in our lives. Learning to understand its purpose will support us in releasing fear, guilt, and shame that we often associate with it. And as we seek harmony in our lives, we can find that we can put the ego into context and move beyond its constraints and lead a loving, peaceful life. Let's look at how we can do this. James Hollis offers us a great quote. Your ego prefers certainty to uncertainty, predictability over surprise, clarity over ambiguity. Your ego always wants to shroud over the barely audible murmurings of the heart. Is it any wonder today we feel stressed, hesitant, questioning, and doubtful when new situations arise, when something happens that takes us by surprise? In order to find balance, it requires integration of the ego self. We have opportunities to gain enlightenment and allow the ego to support us as it is designed, but to not allow it to rule us. That's when we kind of trip ourselves up. We talk a lot about the old tapes, that my old tapes are playing, that I have something happening to me right now, and it feels enough like something from before, that this beautiful, amazing brain of ours has called forth all of that other pain, trauma, drama, and brought it forth to this moment, and we get all caught up in it, and we can't seem to decipher where to find our balance sometimes. These tapes can be voices from our parents, our teachers, doctors, friends, something you saw on television. I mean, it's really interesting how they can show up. And we don't even always know who it came from. But what we want to be able to learn to do is recognize it's not my voice. That's not my voice. Have you ever quoted someone or shared a story that someone shared with you and you couldn't remember the author? You couldn't remember where it came from? This happens to me a lot. I can't be the only one, where I'll be talking, I'll be like, oh my gosh, I heard this story the other day just about this. Wait a minute, let me see if I can remember. And I remember a bit and a piece of it, and I share that, and I don't know where it came from. That's how we're living our life every single day. Because we are acting and reacting and behaving in many ways that we're not even consciously aware of, because it's somebody else's voice. It's someone else's idea. It's someone else's message to us that we have held on to or that we have now pulled forward again. My mom shows up in those moments when I feel fear or doubt. In fact, when I feel fear or doubt, I absolutely know Mom is present, because that was who she was. Always telling me to slow down, don't do that, don't say that, don't go there, don't go out in the snow, don't do, it was that, and bless her heart, she was very fearful, and she had a lot of things that just really made her a little kind of uncomfortable with life. And she wasn't trying to minimize who I was, she wasn't trying to limit me, she was trying to keep me safe. That was the whole purpose of her manner and her behavior. What we want to look for is, how can we incorporate that beautiful ego self into that internal being of who we are without allowing it to rule us? And sometimes we just need to replace those amazing tapes with affirmative prayer. We teach this in so many of our classes, that we can take that concept, that idea of what's going on, what I'm feeling, and I can choose to bring in the opposite and take that into my prayer. And Dr. Ernest Holmes gives us this simple quote: "We erase thought from consciousness by pouring in an opposite thought." When you take time to pray with one of our practitioners or one of our ministers, one of the first things we ask you is, what do you want to experience? Because we can listen to the story of what's happening, we can listen to the energy and how we feel in that moment, but at some moment in time, we want to let that go and create something new. And in order to do that, we have got to pay attention to what would be the opposite. What would be the experience that I choose to have now over the experience that I have been having? And so this week we look at that concept of prayer, that idea of affirmative prayer, spiritual mind treatment, all of the different words we have for it that help us and support us in that ability to adjust, change, shift, changing our very thinking, changing our very perspective, because sometimes the way I'm looking at it is through a skewed perspective of something I've been taught in the past and not necessarily the truth. And so it takes a bold step for us to go to that place that says, I can step into this and go, maybe I'm not seeing what's going on here. Maybe I don't understand what's happening. Maybe there's something else I need to bring from this. And then open up to that idea. Holmes also gives us this: war will cease, not when God decides this for us, but when enough people know it is no longer desirable and steadfastly maintain their position. From communion with Spirit, man will come to perceive the deeper reality, the broader sharing in human experience. How beautiful is that quote? You see, our thoughts are a collection of not only our personal experience, but thoughts of the collective unconscious, of the world itself. So sometimes I may say something that isn't even the words that I would normally choose, but I heard them recently, or it influenced me somehow, some way, and they come out of my mouth and I'm thinking, whoa, that wasn't quite like me. What was that about? And I'm sure that many of us have similar experiences as this. Fearful thoughts follow us around. Sometimes we wake up with them. Thoughts about pending war, the inability to solve the issues of poverty and homelessness. As we walk through this life and we unpack and identify all of these messages, we can turn our attention to the truth that is our divine life. One of the greatest gifts we have with spiritual mind treatment. As we begin to know the truth of who we are, we slowly recognize that through the eyes of Spirit there is only growth, only good, and only ever-expanding experience. Anything unlike this is not of Spirit. We can unify and bring into full expression the internal voice, the internal song, if you will, and it can become a source of our daily living. Yes, I can have a down day. Any one of us can. We can be down in the dumps. We can be confused. We can be feeling that sense that we don't have the answers we need right now. And sometimes in that processing, we get a little emotional and we lose sight of all of the amazing teachings and practices that we have that we can go within and get the solutions, the answers that we're seeking. Because the same God that put all of that in me, placed that in each and every one of you. we have that ability. How beautiful is that? Holmes also tells us this. I believe that the greatest single curative power known to the mind of man is a spiritual thought in the subjective mind. By spiritual thought, I mean here an absolute inner conviction that one may trust in the integrity of the universe and that sooner or later all things will be made right. So here's where our faith kicks in. Here's where we look at the fact that we are powerful. Our minds are powerful. We can create, we can choose whatever it is we want, whatever it is we desire. We can change our lives at any moment in time, however we want to. We can lift ourselves up and above the challenges and the things that are kind of dragging us down, and the sorrows and the loss. When we think and believe that there is only poverty, we limit all of our possibilities. But when we know that there is only abundance, we open our God mind to bigger ideas that end up taking us beyond those thoughts and feelings of lack. When we think and believe in illness, dis-ease, and disorder, we expand that experience in our lives. Now just think about that for a moment. Have you been to a doctor recently, and suddenly they say something that maybe you didn't want to hear, or they did what doctors have a tendency to do, where it's kind of like Google. Well, it could be this, or it could be this, or it could be you've got 3 weeks to live. You know, it's that insane process we have in the world of medicine. And we look at that, and you walk away from that appointment, and you start to feel like there's something wrong with you. And yes, the physical being needs attention. Yes, the physical being needs care. Absolutely. And yet we know that all is perfect in the mind of God. And so for me, it's where this amazing faith kicks in, is to know that, okay, I'm feeling a little disgruntled and grumbly right now. I'm feeling insecure or hesitant. I'm questioning every move I make. And yet I know, beyond doubt, that this too shall pass and that all things will be made right. This is where I want us to go this week. This is the idea I want us to listen to as we go to that idea of the inner song, is just to really pay attention to the fact that, yes, there's stuff going on in our human world. There absolutely is. And we know that we will move through this, that we'll rise above it. Every challenge, every problem. We want to consider health in our bodies as an alignment with our mind and our physical being. We want to have that greater sense of possibility of who we are and how we are in the world. We want to live in that expanded sense. When you think you have no friends, it's tough to find friends. When you think you're not lovable, it's tough to feel love. Again, we have this unbelievable organ in our body called a brain, a mind. We can coach it, we can teach it, we can help it shift, we can change everything about it if we choose. As we recognize every day this next week that we are one with the divine, and that we have a part in the vast ocean of life, we can begin to see love and beauty everywhere. Even in your sorrow, even in your struggle, even in your times of questioning yourself, you can still take a deep breath and see the beauty around you. I have a quote from Louisa Dykstra. Once you're clear on what you want amplify it. Visualizing is also known as dreaming, but we're talking about much more here than random daydreaming. You see, only 5% of your brain is conscious. The other 95% is your autopilot brain. That's disconcerting to me. I thought that was something that happened to me moment by moment, but evidently it happens to all of us. Anyway, back to the quote. Impulses, urges, cravings, reactions, all of these come from the autopilot brain. And you can use visualization to reprogram your autopilot brain and create change in your life. Clear mental pictures reprogram your autopilot. So maybe when we pray, we don't have to go into the detail of what we want. We can just pray for clarity. We can pray for a sense of release and upliftedness. I think I mentioned something along these lines last week, but I found some more information on this, so I want to just spell this out a little bit more. We may say that we want a new house, but Spirit may have a much bigger idea for you than that. So what we want to treat for is not a new house, but what that house represents. What would that mean to you to have a new home? Would it mean there's safety and security? Would it mean that it's a place for family to gather? Let's pray for those things and let Spirit surprise us with what comes forth. Because you've heard, many of you who are in Science of Mind have heard before that we will pray and we'll say this or something better, this or something greater. Because we don't always know what's in the mind of God. And I'm a person who loves to give a whole lot of detail. So if the house has blue shutters, God knows that. And the truth is, Spirit has a better idea for me already. And I'm trying to minimize it by putting in my specific preferences. So let's pay attention to that this week as we pray. What does it mean to you? What is it you desire to feel and experience? And if you're challenged with coming up with the best way to put that into language, then see one of our beautiful practitioners and let them support you in that process. Because that's one of the things that they're trained to do, is to support each and every one of us as we move through that. I have a quote here from Charles Fillmore. The more we believe in the wisdom, power, substance, love, and life of the one mind, the greater is its activity in us and our affairs. The more we believe, the more there is. What a simple concept that is. I want to remind us also here that we are never alone. Never alone. We're talking about the one mind, which is with us always in everything we do. And yes, we all face uncertainty. We all face times of challenge. And there's nothing to be ashamed of and no need to apologize for that. It's just a part of the life process. We don't hide or sugarcoat or spiritually bypass our lived experiences either. We support each other in moving through it. It's not about putting all those old ideas on hold or, on ignore. It's about recognizing that they're there, recognizing what brought me here, and now what can I do from this moment forward, because this is where my power is. One of our past spiritual leaders, Dr. Ken Gordon, says this: if you believe that I believe this for you, then you can borrow my belief. And that's what I would ask that we remember when we walk away from a prayer session with a minister or a practitioner. They're going to continue to hold us in that place. They're going to continue to pray for us, for that highest and best, for that amazing unfolding of our lives. Whether we quite believe it ourselves or not, someone else is holding that sense, that energy for us. There is a power in the universe, my friends, and we can use it. Today, I encourage you to be bold in your expression of life. State clearly and with conviction that the one life is your life today, that you are willing to step forward into this life with confidence, knowing that everything that is necessary to reach its fullness is revealed to you and brought before you. You are always working in the realm of thought. We are always working in the realm of thought. Therefore, we remind ourselves that we are all practitioners of this philosophy. And remembering that Ernest Holmes told us that there is that conscious, trained thought is more powerful than unconscious, untrained thought. When we are conscious, we make careful use of the words that support us and those around us. So yeah, we're only operating with 5% of the brain. 5% of consciousness, let me explain it that way. But yet we can do so much with that. I trained a class years ago, and my oldest son was in the class, and I can't even remember why he would have been in one of my training classes, but he must have been working at the company. Anyway, and I was talking about how we don't even use a huge percentage of our brains. You know, less than 25% of our brain is actually used in our day-to-day function, in our lives and in our growth. And of course, being my son, he said, well, then why don't we just figure out either how to get rid of the rest of it so it doesn't take up space, or how can we use more of it? And it was like, that was not my point I was making, but thank you. We are operating on minimal levels of consciousness. Is there room for expansion? Oh, you better believe it. Absolutely. Absolutely. Even amid the goodness in our lives, there is room for so much more. Not from a place of greed, but from a place of giving from the overflow. There's more than enough. There's more than enough. A beautiful mantra for each of us. When we're swimming in the abundance of life, there's great opportunity to create beauty and peace and love in the world. The world needs whatever it is that you are. And the fullness of your expression is a gift to the world. We can choose to share our abundance with others by engaging in good works that help serve humanity. This week, I encourage each of you to find that internal song, to listen to that voice within, to remember that whatever is going on, this too shall pass, and I will be free of it. Let us do the practices that support us. If you don't understand the 5 steps of spiritual mind treatment, God doesn't care. God is still listening. Speak to spirit. Speak in spirit, allowing yourself to express. And then let's find that song and sing it over and over again. You know, just like those, what is that called? It's a worm something where it gets stuck in your head and it's the same song playing. Earworm, thank you. It's an earworm that gets stuck in your head and it keeps playing over and over again. Yeah, that. Let's let that happen. Whenever I get stuck on a song, I just keep singing it out loud because I know eventually it's going to go away and it's going to be replaced by something else. That internal song, my internal song of who I am and how I choose to show up, yes, let's get in contact with that this week for each of us and sing it. Let's just sing it out loud and let the music play. Please join me in prayer. As we just breathe into this moment, this space right here, right now, this amazing Sunday afternoon, we know that we are accompanied by Spirit. God came in the door with us, and God will leave with each and every one of us. We hold it in our hearts. It holds us in its bosom, guiding us, directing us, protecting us. So as we just breathe that in and know that Spirit is everywhere present, in, of, and through all things, all life, we recognize the good. We recognize the perfection that is in each of us. And we know that we have the ability and the very power to rewrite the old tapes, to change direction, to create something new, different, to choose the opposite of what we may be feeling right now, and allowing Spirit to just move through us in all things at all times. And so I give thanks. I give great thanks for our very ability to be in this space, for that our very awareness that God is with us, for that very knowing that that power that is God, that truth that is in Spirit is in me also, in each of us also, and we can take this out into our lives, and by taking it and adopting it in our lives, we are changing the very culture of the world for the better. It's good, it's perfect, and by God, it is already done in the mind of Spirit. So we just let this go. We let this go and we let it be as we say together, and so it is.
Let the music play. Can you hear it ring? Open your heart. Feel the magic happening. Hear the music play, fill up the air. Send that sound everywhere. Music's like a light when you're on your own. In the middle of the night, lets you know we are never alone. Hear the music play, it's got something to say to me and you. All we have to do is listen. I'm singing it right to you. So let that music play. Let the music play. Hear the music play, fill up the air, send out that sweet sound everywhere. Hear that music play, hear it from deep inside. When you hear it play, let that music be your guide. Let the music play, it's got something to say to you. Just listen, let it sing through you. Let that music play. Let that music play. Let the music play all night and all day.
Hello. I'm Reverend Jen Wild, Senior Minister for New Dawn Center for Spiritual Living. New Dawn Center is a global community, and we welcome all people, all paths, all ways of thinking, all philosophies. So know that you are welcome here, and thank you for joining our online community.